about your meetings on the margins of the Raisina dialogue in New Delhi. Who all have you met and how have those meetings progressed?
Well, last evening, the visiting ministers had an opportunity to call on the Honorable Prime Minister,
Right.
which was the highlight of our bilateral meetings. The Prime Minister took a lot of time to individually greet, meet, and talk about what is going on in our countries. As you know, President Solih and Prime Minister Modi have an excellent relationship, and he personally inquired about the ongoing projects, the projects that are in the pipeline, and about the general status of the country. It was a very warm, very good meeting once again. I also have taken the opportunity to meet with the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jaishankar, and also many of the other visiting ministers. There are about 12 of us foreign ministers here. It's a good opportunity for me to touch base with all of them, so that here in Delhi I could reach out to 12 other countries, and I'm using maximum opportunity of that. In addition, I have also met the Commonwealth Secretary General, and later today I'm meeting the High Representative of the European Union.
So how have your meetings with the Commonwealth chief been like, and how quickly can one see Maldives back in the Commonwealth family, so to speak?
My meeting with the Secretary General was very good. The Secretary General informed me that she had circulated her report to all the Commonwealth heads, and they have responded positively to Maldives membership.
So is there a timeline that we have in mind?
The formal application is with the Secretary General now, and she tells me that by end of this month, early February, we will be back in
Formally,
officially we will be in the Commonwealth if no one objects to.
Sure.
And I'm quite confident that none of the 53 members of the Commonwealth would want to object Maldives rejoining the Commonwealth.
Mr. Minister, yesterday in your ministerial address at the Raisina Dialogue, you spoke about a lot of issues, including climate change and global warming. And that's one issue of particular interest and concern to Maldives. You spoke about how Maldives wants to lead by example. You spoke about banning of single-use plastic by 2023, increasing electricity production, and also focusing on renewables. So how is Maldives approaching this threat or challenge of climate change?
Maldives is just 2.5 meters above sea level. We sit in the middle of the Indian Ocean. As I said yesterday, we look into the vast Indian Ocean. It's our source of sustenance, source of livelihood, but also our greatest threat today. It could engulf us at any minute. But in the last 2,500 years or so, we have learned how to live with the ocean. We are part of it. We regard ourselves as the children of the ocean. We don't want to see the ocean killed, choked. The single-use plastic that is floating around in our oceans is choking the ocean. It's not only choking the ocean, it's also choking the lives in the ocean, which is our livelihood. So we are setting an example by banning single-use plastic in the Maldives by 2023. It's a very ambitious program, but the message we want to send to the rest of the world is that, well, we can do it.
Sure.
Why shouldn't you? If we do it by ourselves, maybe it will not be a very substantial reduction, but still the message, the message that we are sending is good.
Indeed.
We are also protecting large areas of our marine reefs and marine life as protected zones. Parts of atolls are being protected.
Right.
Before the end of this term of 5 years of President Solih, there would be at least one island in all the atolls protected as natural reserves.
I see.
So far, a number of marshlands and have been mangroves have been declared protected.
I see.
So these are the type of action that we would continue to take. We are also launching ourselves to renewable energy. We get the sun every day, 24,
Indeed.
7 days a week, 365 days. We get the sun. We are blessed. We should be using the sun as our source of energy. And government is going into this in a major way.
Sure. Mr. Minister, let's talk about Maldives-India bilateral relations. And New Delhi has what it calls the Neighborhood First policy, and Maldives under President Solih talks about India First policy. So can we build on the convergence and synergy between these two policies under Prime Minister Modi and President Solih?
What I see today is that both Maldives and India have the same security, development, socio-development concerns. And therefore, for the Maldives to have India First policy in its foreign relations and India to have a Neighborhood First policy is only natural, because we are on the same page when it comes to all issues. Neither of us is either conceding to the other country nor putting any pressure on anyone. It just happens that all our concerns converge at the point, and we both share the same concerns.
And have both Malé and New Delhi put the misgivings of the past in relation to Maldives' ties with countries in India's neighborhood, namely China? Is that a thing of the past, or you think that's still being discussed as we speak between Malé and New Delhi?
What our friends understand, including India, understands is that Maldives is a sovereign country which will have relationship with all friendly countries. And having a friend or having a friendship with other countries does not affect the relationship, the special relationship that we have with India. India is our closest neighbor. India is the only country which is both logistically and geographically proximity-wise, yes, to the Maldives, who could come to our assistance at times of crisis. Is the only country who has come to the assistance at times of crisis, and that the people of Maldives remembers. So, relationship should not be judgmental.
And when we talk about Maldives' ties with countries in India's neighborhood, for instance China, there was some dissonance between Minister Yu and Speaker of the Maldivian Assembly on the issue of the so-called Chinese debt. So is Maldives, as we speak, renegotiating or relooking or revisiting those pacts with China? And are you sort of going to scrap the FTA, for instance, altogether?
The relationship with China is based on mutual respect. China has been a generous donor, but the irresponsible borrowings of the previous Maldivian government cannot be overlooked. We have nothing to pick against China, but we have every reason to hold the previous government responsible. The borrowings that have taken place needs to be explained, and in order to do that, President has created an independent Assets Recovery Commission, a presidential commission, through the Parliament. Government does not want to get bogged down on these things. Government wants to concentrate on development matters. Let the processes take place through the independent commissions. On the FTA, the fact remains that the FTA was rushed through the Parliament. But as an elected government of the Maldives today, it is our duty to review the FTA before we comment. And that is why we have not commented on it. The process is ongoing.
Mr. Minister, there's another issue of interest and concern to all countries of the world, including Maldives and India, and that's security and counter-terrorism and extremism and radicalization. Now, there are some reports in the Maldivian media, for instance, which say that there were at least 1,400 so-called ready-to-kill people, 1,400 so-called terrorists wanting to strike at will. So how is Maldives doing on its own to combat this challenge, and also in collaboration with countries, namely India?
Something that is markedly different between the previous Maldivian regime and the current government is that we do not want to hide behind, we do not want to deny a reality. We do not want to continue to live in a status of denial. And that is why our Commissioner of Police have come out openly and said, this is the status of the situation today. But I'm confident that he would have said it in public after giving due consideration and after ample preparation that things are under control. So you can rest assured that the 1,400 or so people the Commissioner of Police have spoken about, maybe they are ready, but they are also under our radar. And it's not only under our radar, but also it's a clear fact that we are working very closely with our neighbors, especially India.
Because, for instance, Maldives is said to have one of the highest per capita number of people who had become radicalized and traveled to countries in West Asia. So, is the present government under President Solé doing or getting its policies and operations in place to combat this challenge of radicalization and extremism?
Yes, we are. Maldivian current government is the first government which has enacted legislation to ban foreign fighters to join Maldivians to go and join foreign fighters. We have also, under the anti-terrorism law, government has now published countries to which Maldivians cannot travel. The first country is Syria. If any individual goes to Syria and join the fighting, he could be charged on a criminal offense. We have also, for the first time, published a list of terrorist organizations which Maldives deems as terrorists. So, yes, these are difficult things, but we are bold. We take action, and we are able to do it because we have friends. Sure. We have friendship with the Indian government and people. We are also closely working with the United States, sure, the United Arab Emirates, and many other countries in order to make sure that we face this scourge. Sure. Terrorism has no religion. Indeed. It is pure evil, and it can only be confronted with international united action.
Indeed. Mr. Minister, a couple of quick last questions. When we look at South Asia as a whole, we have two groupings, one SAARC and the other BIMSTEC. Now, in the last few years, we've seen India making a decisive shift away from SAARC and towards BIMSTEC. But the problem from your perspective is Maldives is not a part of the BIMSTEC grouping. So what is Maldives' take on reviving SAARC, for instance, so that Maldives also gets into the thick of action, so to speak, in South Asia?
Are you proposing that we be in BIMSTEC and SAARC?
Would you like to be in both groupings, Mr. Minister?
That would be an interesting thing to ponder on.
So is that actively being considered by both Malé and New Delhi?
We'll have to look into it.
And what's your thought, Mr. Minister, as a Foreign Affairs Minister, of the future of SAARC as we know it?
I think for SAARC to prosper, we need to start addressing the core issues. Unless we address the core issues, again we will be living in denial. So I hope that leadership will start addressing the core issues that are preventing SAARC from functioning.
And very quickly, Mr. Minister, under President Solé's term, we've seen your government address or take on the challenge of so-called legacy issues under the erstwhile presidency of Mr. Yamin. How is the current government tackling those so-called legacy issues, and what's the kind of progress that you've made on that front, domestically as well as on the foreign policy realm as well?
It's a challenge. It's a huge challenge because unfortunately we inherited all the mess. That happens when new governments come in, especially after such an irresponsible government. One of the ways to deal with it would be to stop talking about blaming it on previous government, rather try to fix it. And last 14 months, President Solih has been doing nothing but trying to fix the mess. And I must say that we have been quite successful.
All right, on that rather optimistic note, Mr. Minister, thank you so much for speaking to DD India. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Always a
Mr. Minister.
pleasure.
Thank you for your time. Pleasure having you. Thank you. All right, joining me in the studio is a special guest, Professor Harshvardhan Pant of the Observer Research Foundation.